But more importantly, the election is never now about the political choice between the ruling establishment and the alternative. Right now, an election in Zimbabwe means two things. If you want life, you are forced and coerced to vote for Zanu-PF. If you vote for the alternative, which is your choice, you are actually voting for death in the context of the by-election that we held in Good.
Hello guys, welcome back to my TV. Panopatira kupaina dzakasiyana-siyana ma-updates zvingashira chipakumatimana enyika nedzimwe nzvimbo dzakatikomberedza. Manherana wandine vhidhiyo randakubatirai panapa. As we all know kuti today maTraces Coalition for Change kana CCC range rine press conference vachiadresa anyika maererano necurrent situation iri kuitika mupati mavo. Hanzi zvakambotanga akatanga ari marikozi, asi iko zvine zvaakuita kwakuurayiwa kwevanhu. Asi taona mutauro weCCC vanova ivo vagift ostallos vanova umwe wevamwe akabva mukurikolewa 3 days ago nasengezosha vangu anova iye nhau yake yazokandwa pasi pebhazi najaji muzuva ranhasi. Asi taona kuti paanga achitaura abatabatawo mafacts akati wandei kusanganisira nokuti hanzi kana uri hanzi dzingava politics here munyika dzokuti ukada kuti uvhotere pati yaunoda iwo nemwoyo wako aziva kuti unenge wakutovhotera rufu, asi ukavhotera Zanu-PF zakuti unenge wakuita zvido zvavo zvavanokufosa kuti uite iwewe. Tisingade kupedzera nguva guys, ndoda kuti muzvinzwirewo this video muzonza zvamunofunga mucomment section nokuda kwokuti this video rakasenga ranga richitaura the way forward yavari kuda kutora maererano nezviri kuitika mubato mavo zviri kuitika kuma-citizens nezvakasiyana-siyana zvanondongoda kuti muzvinzwire mese. Tisingadi kupedzera nguva, zvinzwirewo this video muzonza zvamunofunga mucomment section. Stay tuned, stay updated.
Some kingdom. That's why we said this requires a state of emergency, because victims are being turned perpetrators, because a victim has actually been brought by the police as a perpetrator, and that's why we have written to the Commissioner General so that we are able to have justice, because this is not a first case where victims, you know that our former member of parliament of the 9th parliament, Honorable Job Sikala, is still in prison right now. Why is Honorable Job Sikala in prison? He was representing Mo Blessing Ali. Mo Blessing Ali was a victim of sponsored politically motivated violence and murder. The gruesome murder of Mo Blessing Ali, when Honorable Sikala became the lawyer of choice for the victim of the family of Mo Blessing Ali, he actually became the perpetrator, and Honorable Sikala was arrested, and he has spent more than 500 days in prison, showing that Zimbabwe is now an animal farm kingdom where victims have been turned perpetrators, and it's something that we're raising with the police too, so that we are able to have those issues resolved. Just to clarify on the issue of Mavuku, our member was abducted during door-to-door campaign. What that confirms and shows is that elections in this country are being held as a ritual without democracy. How can you have an election without choice under Zanu-PF of Mr. Mnangagwa? The election right now in this country follow what happened in Gutu. The by-election in Gutu is also a signifier of the crisis that we're facing as a nation, because life is being lost on account of politics. But more importantly, the election is never now about the political choice between the ruling establishment and the alternative. Right now, an election in Zimbabwe means two things. If you want life, you are forced and coerced to vote for Zanu-PF. If you vote for the alternative, which is your choice, you are actually voting for death in the context of the by-election that we held in Good. So voting is no longer about the political choice in Zimbabwe right now under Mr. Mnangagwa. Voting is now about a matter of life and death. It is no longer about the political choice. It's no longer about bread and butter issues. That's why Zimbabweans are being coerced to go and vote. It's actually coercion rather than election, which is the problem that we are facing in this country. Takuzo Ngadzo was abducted in broad daylight. We opened a case in police, in Moboren police. Takuzo Ngadzo's case was reported, and up to today, 2 gun-toting men who are known have not been arrested. The police has not given any statement and anything in relation to that. Sengezo Chabangu committed fraud. He abused criminally so the intellectual property of the Citizens Coalition for Change. Nothing has happened to Sengezo Chabango. Nothing happens. A clear case of impunity that if you work to aid dictatorship, if you work to aid authoritarianism in this country, you are free to continue with anything. Right now, they went to the banks to try and open bank a criminal conduct to the CBZ, but nothing happens, and these people continue. Why? Because there is impunity to those that are aiding dictatorship and fascism. And there are witnesses. There are people, including the one that was tortured. He is a witness to the case, and everyone who participated in the door-to-door are aware. In fact, citizens in Mavuk are aware of the people who took, particularly the vehicle, because this is a vehicle that has been used by members of ZANU-PF in their campaigns. So it's something that happened in broad daylight, signifying the crisis of impunity in the post-August 2023 sham election. So I received the information that the letters had been read in Parliament and have been read in Senate. And obviously, Mudenda, as an officer of the court, can be interviewed by you members of the media so that he says why he has defied the decision of the High Court. We are a constitutional democratic party, and we ought to exhaust all those avenues because the crisis in Zimbabwe has gone beyond the borders of this country. Why are we saying so? When there's instability in this country, it has bearing in the region, it has bearing in the continent. More importantly, to South Africa and our neighboring countries. It is on that respect that we've engaged SADC, particularly the organ of defense and security, because people are moving this country, are living out of this country as political and economic refugees, and that has a bearing into the region. And we have to make sure that SADC helps us as a member state to domestically resolve our problem. But not only that, we've also invoked some avenues and platforms, and we're going to be unpacking that in due course. We've written a petition to Parliament. We've also engaged Chapter 12 institutions, particularly the Human Rights Commission. We've also obviously been enrolling, and we're going to be communicating a specific political program of action to deal with the political crisis in our country. Look, it's a very sad circumstances, particularly coming from a government functionary, people who are supposed to be apolitical. I'm not so sure that a government functionary can speak for and on behalf of a political party. Parties speak for themselves, unless there is a confirmation of the conflation of the state and the party, which is a very sad scenario because in paper Zimbabwe is a constitutional democracy. And it's very sad because these are cases of loss of life. Life is sacrosanct. We can have political differences, but political difference should not push us into spilling blood on account of political differences. A very sad circumstance because anyone can die. We have people from Zanu-PF who lost their life. We have people from across walk of life who loses their life, and we don't, as a movement and out of respect and out of our culture as a people, celebrate any loss of life, and more importantly, to plan and orchestrate a member of society on account of political differences. It shows the amount of challenge that is facing our country. It shows the amount of impunity. It shows the amount of a sadistic behavior on part of those who want to play around with the samples and lives of ordinary people. Of course, medical doctors have looked into this issue, and obviously to find ways to make sure that they are able to protect these victims of injections. A very sad scenario because this is not only targeting of people on the basis of the present politics, but these are also people who are being targeted. These are leaders of tomorrow. The future of this country, the future political leadership of this country is being systematically targeted, and something that is very worrying for us because we don't believe that the situation in the politics of this country must reach those levels. That's why we have made sure that we attempt and do everything to the best of our ability privately, because you know of the health crisis in this country. You cannot have that support domestically. You cannot have that support, medical support in public institutions, something that has to be fixed when we fix the policy. The substance cannot be confirmed publicly because medical doctors have to do their processes, and respectfully, we don't believe that we ought to share that information in public. But I can tell you without doubt that these are systematic elimination processes of our younger people, of our younger generations, and the future of this country. So I think I've confirmed about what has been being done, particularly in respect of the High Court sitting that happened this morning, and that made a decision that there shouldn't be any recall of our members of parliament or councillors or senators until this issue that is before the court. And the issue before the court is whether or not the impositor, Sengezo Chabam, has the right to occupy the so-called office of the Secretary General, which does not exist in the Citizens Coalition for Change. Members of the 40th State, fellow Zimbabweans, thank you very much.